Hi, I'm Claire from Anonymous Marketing, and I've been invited to host the first ever You're in Detention Messy Minds podcast so that you guys can get to know founders Joe and Kerry, who started this journey about 18 months ago, and it's been a pleasure for me to work with them. And we're going to kick off with the first question, which is, what led you to create Messy Minds, and how did your own experience shape the program? And I'm putting that to you, Joe, first.
Well, thanks, Claire. And we're sorry for stitching you up with this opportunity. So we really appreciate you coming on and being on our first ever podcast, which is really exciting in itself and something we're all getting used to now. What led to creating Messy Minds? But this goes back probably 2 years now, and it stems from my own journey through diagnosis for ADHD, which happened when I was 47, which is, I know you probably think you must only be 21, but
absolutely, I don't believe
it. So I was diagnosed at age 47, and a kind of quite a lot of research had happened before that to make me think, I really wasn't aware of the fact that women would present ADHD differently to men and boys. And through lots of research, that led me to be diagnosed. And when I was diagnosed, I kind of felt a little bit lost because I didn't really know what to do with that information.
Yeah.
I found it quite challenging as well, because when you do get diagnosed with ADHD at the moment, because there's so many undiagnosed, particularly women, similar age, you find people saying, oh, you wanted a label, you wanted this, you wanted that. And it's like, well, not really. I just want to be able to understand myself. And that's really the kind of journey that I've been on, trying to make sense of myself.
Yeah, and so this is why you've created this coaching program, isn't it? So you've got 20 years plus experience across sport and leadership. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, so I was employed for 24 years with the same company actually, but at the same time as that, I actually ran a martial arts coaching business. So I used to teach and also train up coaches to run their own classes as well, because you can't teach everyone, can you? So you need to be able to train up other coaches to be able to go and teach as well. And martial arts is definitely something that's helped me over the years, even not knowing I had ADHD, but it was kind of like an outlet. Kickboxing, absolutely loved it, and it turned from passion into a occupation, really.
Yeah, amazing. And obviously, Kerry, you were actually coached by Joe.
I was.
And tell me the backstory to that.
So I've known Joe for a number of years now because we work for the same company. Joe was originally my mentor, which worked super well. But then I went through a period where I moved into a different role. I had lots and lots going on, and I needed something different. So Joe stepped in as my coach, and I think Joe will probably tell you I'm a different person today than when she started coaching me. And even with things like just giving me a little bit more confidence, giving me lots of tools so that I can cope with things myself and think through things.
And had you had coaching with other people that hadn't worked for you? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And it historically had always been, you'd get coached by someone, but it always felt very much on somebody else's agenda. Was to either get you to do something, or so that you knew at the end of their year on their review, they'd be like, yeah, I coach Kerry.
Right. Okay.
This felt really different, but coaching with Joe was hugely different. I don't think I'd be sit here today on a podcast.
Yes.
Having gone through that, but it changed everything.
Amazing. And off the back of that then, Joe, obviously you wanted to build something that was emotionally safe, visual and empowering for people out there that you didn't have access to when you potentially could have, used that. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The whole purpose of Messy Minds is to help people understand themselves. That's our flagship program that takes people on that journey. And, we've got between us countless years of corporate experience, of, well, obviously life experience for me with ADHD. Kerry's neurotypical. That's why we're working together. We'll come back to that later. And it's really enlightening when you start to piece yourself together and work out. You kind of need to work out which parts are you, which parts of the ADHD, which parts you're like masking, and who you are behind that mask, because you kind of, I don't know, if you've got ADHD, you tend to be able to mirror people really well, which means you get on with so many people really well. So it can be very surface level, because obviously you're mirroring that person. It's not really necessarily who you are.
Yeah. So do you feel now that you've had the diagnosis and you've developed this coaching program, which obviously you're going to tell us a bit more about, but do you feel that you're now more yourself rather than mirroring people on a day-to-day basis because of the work that you've put into yourself?
Yeah, I think I recently took redundancy from employment where I was in for 24 years, and the reason that I had the confidence to do that is because I knew what I wanted to do. And it's really funny because when I've coached or mentored anyone, and you can ask anyone that I've coached or mentored in the past, when they say they don't really know what they want to do, I always used to say, and I know I've said this to Kerry, I don't know what I want to do yet. And I'm like, I was 47 at the time. I was working in a corporate. You're looking for the next role. You're looking for the next promotion. You're just on a bit of a wheel. And I kind of got to that point where I thought, no, I now know what my purpose is. I know what I want to do. I want to help others that are neurodivergent to work out what environment they thrive in, how, where their strengths are, where they might get in their own way. It's you've then got to take that information and try and work out what kind of career you want to be or should be in, and how do you then make that transition. So it's amazing. You don't really know what you want until you actually find something that gives you a purpose.
Absolutely. So can you tell us more about the Messy Minds coaching program?
Yeah, so the Messy Minds coaching program is 8 weeks long.
Yeah.
And it basically takes you on a journey of discovering your strengths and some of the kind of interruptions that you might get from your mind. I was reading an article yesterday that called the ADHD mind a popcorn mind, because you've constantly got thoughts like popping all the time into your head without any control. And it's very, very good way of describing it. Yeah. So trying to help people with where they might be struggling with things or behaving in a certain way that gets them into trouble, and what's causing that, what is it, and then it moves on to talk about your career, where you are at the minute. Perhaps you might be in the wrong career. Maybe you might have just left school and you're overwhelmed by what you want to do. We've got people pressurizing you what you think you should be doing, and then we kind of move on to help understand about the executive functioning of your mind, and trying to make it in a real practical way.
Yeah.
Non-sciencey, this is lived experience we're talking through here, and that's the Messy Minds was created from lived experience.
And what age do you have to be before you can take this course? Is it purely for adults, or is it for children also?
Well, we have 2 programs, and the teens and adults one is the Making Sense of Yourself program.
Okay.
We do have a children's program from age 7 to 11, which is different. It's not similar principle, but it's all about navigating through school and trying to understand, who you are inside versus who you are outside, because a lot of neurodivergent children will find that they feel something inside, but they're projecting something different on the outside. So there's a whole kind of journey that we go through, which involves parents as well, with junior school children, because I just don't think there's a lot of support out there for younger children.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And obviously this course is delivered by trained coaches yourselves. It's not run by therapists.
No.
So it's practical, isn't it? And it's relatable. You've lived it, and that's why I think this is going to do so well. I'm just so passionate about it. Both of you. Obviously, you're very different characters. Joe, you have ADHD. Kerry, you are neurotypical.
Yeah.
Yes. So you work well as a team, which is great.
I think we absolutely get the benefit. We get the benefit of it. And I think there's a lot, especially in the coaching program, there's so much in there that everybody would benefit from. I mean, Joe's been through a lot of that with me, and it's like the feelings you can get, which really knock your confidence, but really getting how you can flip that round to work for you.
And in your program, there are a lot of visual tools and metaphors to help clients make sense of themselves, isn't it? Tell us more about that and why you think this is going to really work for the clients.
Yeah, I think we've tried to use really like straightforward language that people can relate to, rather than the sciencey facts.
Yeah,
because it's a well-known fact that if you've got ADHD, you struggle to take in like verbal information and lots of it. And to be honest, you kind of connect with emotions more than you connect with facts.
Yeah.
So the program is designed to kind of you immerse yourself in that and try and use different ways of getting that creativity out of you and onto the table where you can see it.
Yeah. So I imagine, Joe, when you were in school, you probably got put into detention quite a lot. Did you struggle with education because of your ADHD? Obviously, you didn't know it back then, but was it an issue back then?
Yeah, I mean, if you ask my dad, if you get onto the topic of school around my parents, their eyes roll into the back of the head. And it was quite funny actually, because when my sister, who's 2 years younger than me, started the secondary school that I was at already, I think it might have been, it was one of the teachers, I don't know if it was the head teacher, had said, "Oh, not another one, not another one." Not another Harrison, which was obviously my maiden name. But because listen, if I'd known about having ADHD at school, that would have made a big difference, even just knowing about it.
Yeah.
But if you'd looked at my school reports, it was pretty much the same report written over and over and over again, which was, you don't listen, you zone out, you don't make any effort, you could do better always. Has the potential to do well, but doesn't listen, is just easily distracted, distract others. And really, when you look back at it, boredom is one of the most painful experiences you can have if you have ADHD. And if you're zoned out and you can't take in the information, you're then bored because you're sitting there and you don't really get what's going on. So then you start messing about, you start getting into trouble. And it was just like that all the time. Never did my homework ever. It was always, I came to do my homework. Wasn't that I didn't do it, but I got it out and I'd be like, well, then I realised I hadn't been listening in the class, didn't really know what the homework was, didn't do it. Copies in the morning, get into trouble again. But my dad was a teacher, actually a secondary school teacher. So he used to really like parents' evenings to a bit of a joke, to be honest. They were a bit of a long-standing.
Did you attend his school?
No.
Oh, God.
No. But do you know what? It was, it's quite a challenging experience. And I think the best thing my dad did for me was when I left school with nothing, he said to me, "You're not going to college. because you're going to waste a load of my money and waste time, you can go and get a job. So I actually started work the day after I left school. And do you know, I've worked ever since. So that was the best advice really that I got, because the academic world didn't work for me. I didn't know why. He didn't know. I thought I was a waster, you know. But some of the kids at school that were like that have gone on to be fantastic. They've got fantastic businesses. They're like entrepreneurial, you know, they've done amazing. And so
comedians, comedians get called, you know, you get told in class, oh, you know, what are you going to be, a stand-up comedian? You know, says it's a bad thing. Look how much money they're making. It's not a bad thing at all.
It's not. And I think that's the thing. It's not the things that you're really strong at, like your creativity and your, you know, all the drive that you've got and doing well in a crisis situation, and that's not the kind of education environment that you're in. It's very structured. There's a lot of information coming at you, and which you can't absorb, and it then makes you feel like, you know, you're not really good enough, or somehow a failure. So you can see how children leaving school really struggle with their self-confidence, because it was pretty much go and work in an office.
That's it, isn't it? And, you know, people are recognising it now, younger and younger in children, which is a good thing. And I hope that obviously the education system does something to encourage their strengths rather than make them feel like they don't fit in or they aren't able to complete the set tasks and so on. So, yeah, that's really good. And off the back of this, you've launched the coaching program, but alongside that, you've also launched the academy. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, we're really excited about the academy, and the coaching program's brilliant, isn't it? And, you know, but I can only coach a few people myself.
Yes.
And it was the same when I taught martial arts. It was, you know, teach other people those skills. There's so many people around that are kind of lost in their careers, that are real like helpers, supporters, please, if you like. It's very, very common kind of saboteur to have, just being a pleaser if you're a neurodivergent. And there's lots of potential careers for other people to have, that can you know, find a rewarding way of helping others through their kind of life's journey. And, you know, I could ram myself out with coaches. Of course, I could do that with clients all day, coaching people.
Yeah.
But that's not really going to make much of an impact. And, you know, we're here to make an impact. We're here to make a difference.
So how long does the academy take for, you know, your new coaches to become qualified?
It's an 8 weeks. 8 weeks.
That's 8 weeks as well.
That's it, yeah. And the program is CPD accredited.
Yes.
We're obviously very proud about that.
Congratulations on that, by the way, because I know that you worked really hard. So I'm really pleased for you.
Thank you. We're also, I'm also a level 7 qualified executive coach, and we're also, I'm also a senior coach in the European Mentoring and Coaching Council. So I have a lot of experience, and over 20 years with, you know, leadership as well, leading teams in corporate organizations, which is, you know.
And who can train? Who can train as a Messy Minds coach? What do they need?
Anyone can train. Neurodivergence, brilliant. You know, you can empathize with what people are going through. But neurotypicals can also train as neurodivergent coaches. Of course they can. So all of the training is done during the 8 weeks. And we'll hopefully get a load of new coaches out there to help people through their learning, really.
Yeah. And you said that you've made the program, you've made sure that it makes people feel emotionally safe and empowering. How have you done that? And I'm going to give this one to Kerry.
So,
sorry, Joe. Let's give Kerry some airtime today.
Yeah, you do that.
So a lot, probably both the academy and the coaching program. So the coaching program, we have the initial sessions, so like we'd call a chemistry session. So it's just about making sure you've got the right coach, you're comfortable with them, that it feels good for you. So probably really reminiscent for me of my experience with Joe. So someone I felt comfortable with and I could be open with.
So if someone signs up for it and they aren't comfortable with that particular coach, obviously once you've trained people up via the academy, they could then have an alternative one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much like a therapist, you may not find the right one on the first go, but that's why you're building this army of coaches so that you can offer that option.
Absolutely. It's all about, to get the most from it, you have the right fit. You've got the right person for you at that right time.
Yeah.
I think that really does help with the, the building of trust, feeling emotionally safe.
Yeah.
That's what it's all geared around. We're not here to diagnose or give therapy. What we're here to do is make sure that we've got really strong people who want to help, want to make a difference, and that they're fully equipped to be able to have really, really good coaching conversations.
Yeah.
And help people really make sense of themselves.
Yeah. And once they've completed the 8-week course, obviously they become qualified. What support is there for them behind the scenes then? Can they come back to you for additional support if they're dealing with difficult clients or challenging clients rather, and they just need some advice from you who has 20 plus years experience? Are you there on hand for them?
Yeah, there will be the option for some of our coaches that go through the program to be franchisees.
Yeah.
Which means that we kind of really help with the heavy lifting of running a business, because that could be really overwhelming if you have ADHD, because there's so many different parts to it, and it can probably be a bit of a blocker.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
But so for those that are franchisees of Messy Minds, to answer your question, they will have supervision quarterly, because we obviously will make sure that we do that. With anyone that's been through the Messy Minds program, of course, as senior coaches, we're all here to support other coaches. If someone's struggling with something, then they can book in and talk through. It's very much like that in the coaching community. Everyone's very supportive of each other, and we'll run some group sessions where people can kind of drop in, talk about any challenging situations they've had. So yeah, we'll be looking to continue to do that, because that's how our coaches will stay at a certain level of supervision, which is really important, particularly because we're members of the EMCC.
Yeah, perfect. So Kerry, you've worked closely with Joanne on this. What do you both believe about the power of coaching, and why is it central to Messy Minds?
It can just be, it can be life-changing. I think really being able to focus on yourself, have a good understanding of yourself, but also it's learning even coping mechanisms or skills to help you reframe how you're thinking.
Yeah. So it's about guiding people and not fixing people, isn't it?
100%, because I think the people, neurodivergent, it's superpowers. I think you can see that from talking to Jo. So she'll talk about how at school she was constantly talking too much, or she wasn't listening. But her superpowers, the talking too much, was probably helping other people, helping others maybe learn, making people feel better. So it's bringing out those superpowers and helping people really get the most with what they've already got within them.
Yeah, that's perfect. And you ladies have also developed a version of the program for younger children. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, look, we're the most excited about this, I think, because it's called Little Noodles, giving away the name.
I love it.
Our character, our logo, and yeah, it must be really challenging just going through school. If I had to do that whole school journey again, I think I just don't know how to feel about that. But if you've got, it's the same principle for the Little Noodles as it is for making sense of yourself. It's just trying to understand, and also for parents to understand why why their child is acting in a certain way, because there's always, and I know from my own experience, when my parents could not work out why I was acting in a certain way all the time. If I'd have understood why I was doing it, and if they'd have understood why I was doing it, what was at the root of that, whether that was boredom, distraction, impulsiveness, whatever it is, you can then manage that much better. So parents are crying out at the minute, and I know this because I've spoken to them, and I also am one as well. They're just really desperate to help understand situations and help their children, but it's very, very limited in terms of what support is available. And particularly for our programs, you don't need to be diagnosed. You don't need to be diagnosed. And like Kerry says, to be honest, pretty much 70% of the program, if you're a neurotypical, it would be a really helpful thing to do. But there's specific areas in the program that will be for neurodivergent, so the RSD and understanding executive functioning and things like that. So that part of the program is very specific. So hopefully we can start to help train coaches in schools. We can train coaches in companies, so that if I've got a FTSE 100 company and I've got a neurodivergent workforce, bearing in mind 1 in 5 people, they reckon, are neurodivergent. If I'm not unlocking potential from those 1 in 5 people in a company, you are significantly decreasing your productivity. You are not maximizing the opportunities that you've got in there. So if you had a coach that could help people understand themselves and they're trained up in your business, actually, well, brilliant, because you can, you could look out for people in-house rather than it be this kind of, I don't know, we sometimes end up with a bit of a tick box approach to it. And actually, like many of the experts are saying, you just need to give people the environment where they'll thrive. Just get so much more out of them.
We talked about this the other day when we were talking about little noodles. But for Joe, I think we were chatting and said, if this support had been available back when you was at school, but equally with the Messy Minds program, if that was available when you first started working in the admin job that that you first started in. But
how did that go, Joe? Sorry, I know we touched upon this last week, okay, and I'm not featuring it in this podcast, okay? So tell us about your first job and how did it work out for you?
Well, yeah, I mean, interestingly, my first job was on a YTS scheme, so that was interesting, and I'm not sure how much work we got done or what we learned, but actually we were excellent dart players by the time we left there. And I say we because I was paired up with another person that was on a placement, and actually that was brilliant because we've been we're best mates for life since going through YTS. However, when I left there, my first proper job, I worked in an office because that's what the school had said: go and work in an office, go get a job in an office. And it was the most boring work, like making up media packs constantly all day, posting, franking, all this stuff. It's just repetitive, mind-numbing. And my mind doesn't work like that. It was kind of, I'm dreading going to work every day. And I think one day I'd not done something, and I'd got into trouble for it again. And the lady that I worked for had called me into the boardroom, and she was just tearing her hair out. But I was able to just give her these excuses, like straight off the top of my head, constant, like a red roll off my tongue, like she would be like, oh my God. And at one point she just said, right, okay, get your stuff and go in the sales office. You can go in the sales office because that's where you belong. And it's just amazing. Like, I went in there, picked up the phone, and I was just amazing at it. And then I had a career in sales for about 10 years. That you always need.
That's amazing, isn't it? Because if she'd fired you that day, you would never have known. You know, so she saw your potential, just not in admin.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, even in the admin role, when my boss at the time was off for 2 weeks, I was excellent because I knew it was only me. It was really busy. I felt needed, felt like I was making a difference, and it was completely different. When she came back, I was like, I'm bored again now because I'm not running the show. I've always led things, and that's why I've had such, decades of leadership experience, whether that's in running my own business or latterly in the company that I used to work for. But that's kind of, you don't really know what your skills are, do you? And when you leave school, they're not leadership. No one talks to you about leadership because you need that kind of experience, don't you?
Yeah, and you're just a natural leader. I mean, I've worked with you for 18 months on this project, and you're just a leader.
It's a leader.
Visual leader, you're great to work with. Absolutely crazy at times, but really good to work with. I especially like the Snapchat video I received today, which is going on to the social media platform, I think. In fact, can we get it edited into this video? Because this is the type of stuff this woman does. And it is brilliant. But you get things done as well. And I think the partnership between yourself and Kerry, because I know that we've been doing a website for you, and my developer has experienced some challenges, shall we say. So you've got Kerry, who's very black and white, very methodical, and then Joe comes in going, hi, can we just change this, and this? And he's like, his face is like, Claire, I've had to give them a phone today. Like, let's talk about it. And it's, well, I was getting somewhere, and this is Connor's hit. I was getting somewhere, and then they came in and just changed everything, and it didn't. I was like, okay, shall we keep the meetings to just you and Kerry for the back end operational side of the website, and then Joe can have creative control because you're prepped for it? And he's like, yes, I think that'll work.
Connor loves it when it's just Kerry. When I join the meeting, usually 60 seconds late, he's like, oh.
You can see
like he's like reaching for a Red Bull, because the energy that comes onto the call, it's like he's not ready for this undirected energy. So he's
so
and I liked that yesterday, but now it doesn't look right and it can't sit right. So but I think that's you need both of those things, don't you? Because you've got to have that edge with creativity, but
absolutely
we need to get it done, like, and that's not
yes, because I think that's why you have this great partnership, because Kerry, you can toe the line and be like, yes, but we need to complete this task, and then you've had your creative freedom, Joe, and then you kind of come together and like, okay, this is it now, and then you move forward to the next stages. There's wonderful. So what's in development? What's next for Messy Minds? What have you got coming up?
Oh God, we've got so much. We've got loads of exciting stuff. In fact, we've got stuff that we're working on that we're going to be announcing coming soon, but we're still in the kind of discussing final details of those. So making some announcements on some partnerships that we've been working on over the summer. So we can't wait to talk about those, but we have been out on the road a little bit and making these relationships with other businesses, because that's really, really important. You can't have a business in a silo. You're not the experts at everything. And also, Kerry and I are from a business that had a really, really strong culture, strong giving back culture. And it's one of the reasons why we've stayed so long at our previous employer. We are at all costs, we will be putting in a real strong culture into Messy Minds, and that will be driven from the top. So we'll be looking and making some announcements on that soon. But that's important, really important to us.
And we start the coaching academy, starts on the 19th of November.
That's exciting. So on the 19th of November, that's it. It's going live.
First intake starts.
So it's been a pleasure to host your first podcast. You're in Detention. How often are you going to be streaming this podcast or putting it out there?
We're going to be doing them weekly.
Amazing.
I've got a real fun week this week. We're moving house, so we're going to be doing them weekly, and we'll be setting up a little kind of area where we'll be doing that. And you know what? We're so excited to have some guests on. We've had some asking us already if they want to come on. And I think, do you know what's the best thing about, I think, Messy Minds is that it's relatable, because there's so many amazing people that have ADHD, like Richard Branson, Dan Martell, like that are billionaires that they're absolutely like bossing it.
Yeah.
But if you're like sat in your living room, it's very hard to relate all the way to someone that's like that owns an airline. How do you get on that path? Like, so we're going to be talking to people on the podcasts about, you know, real lighthearted, some of the kind of behaviors, what some of the kind of scrapes that they've got into, not just in school, but in work. I mean, I've got stories on here that you probably don't want to hear. And, you know, that where I've got myself into such scrapes, some of it, but impulsivity, some of it, you know, all legal, by the way, I'm just saying that.
Yes,
but
just
like,
clarify, Joe is
clarify that. I don't want anyone naturally, but I think
it's fantastic. I'm so excited to see your next podcast and to see what's to come. And obviously, we get to work with you every week anyway, so it's just a joy. Now, I really have $1 million question here, because I don't know if you remember last week in our meeting, you had an admin task that your husband had said that you had to complete that day, and I voted to say that you wouldn't get it done.
Yes.
And I need to know, was it done, or are you in detention?
So I am out of detention because I did. Amazingly I did, but that was because I had a letter from the DVLA that said, with a new logbook, said you need to change your registration. My friend actually has an admin task that's outstanding for about 9 years.
Oh my God.
And she has to change her driving license after going through a divorce, and she still hasn't done it. I know it's a long-standing joke now. I said, you're probably quicker just to get a whole new identity, to be honest.
Definitely. Okay, so you completed that, so you're not in detention for that one. That's fine, we let it go.
No.
Tell me one other thing that you've done this week that's frustrated your husband. What's your husband's name?
Johnny.
Tell me one other thing that you've done this week that you have frustrated Johnny with.
Just one. Just want one.
Just one quick one.
We'll get him on the podcast at some point.
Absolutely.
What have I done this week? I've done plenty of things that have frustrated him. I'll tell you one then. So as you know, we're moving house.
Yes.
And the upstairs of the house is going to be in the Messy Minds office for me to actually work in and get filming done and stuff.
Yeah.
We were a couple of weeks from completing, and we're walking around next trying to find furniture and things like that. And I'd seen this pink sofa, and I said, this is going to be ideal. I need this for the Messy Minds studio. And then there was something else. And he said, for God's sake, he said, do you know how big that floor is up there? He says, it's not very big, Joe. He said, so by the time you've got your desk in, a chair, and a rocking swivel chair that you've already bought, which hasn't been delivered yet, you want this, you want that. He said, where do you think it's all going to go? He says, just wait. Just wait till we get in. I'm like, yeah, but I need this pink sofa. I can't do my podcast without it.
Yeah, it's got to be there. The podcast won't get launched. It's over. Oh my God. So I'm guessing when you move next week, that's going to be your first order. Oh, yeah. It just accidentally appeared.
Yeah, but do you know what though? I won't measure the space. What will happen is I'll just order it. If I've never measured anything in my life, I just think, yeah, it's normally fine, and it's always fine. But
okay.
I won't do anything like that, because otherwise I'll have to go and find the tape measure, measure the space, write it down, find the measure of the sofa. Well, it's out of my reach, so I'll just order it. If it doesn't fit there, go somewhere else.
Please capture the moment that sofa is delivered and you can't fit it into your office.
Yeah.
Because it's going out there. We're telling the world about it. I want it filmed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That will definitely happen. Has to go up a flight of stairs as well. It's all right though.
Oh my God.
Man, because what I said is, don't worry, because if it doesn't fit in there, I'll make one of the bedrooms into a podcast studio, at which point he walked off.
Priorities.
Exactly.
Priorities. Yeah, no, it's been great. I can't wait for this to go out, and thank you so much for having me. host this week's, and I look forward to seeing you ladies hosting the future podcasts.
Yeah, we can't
Thanks.
wait.
Maybe you can interview me one day.
Yes,
Yeah.
we will. We'll interview you, Connor, Reese, and Dylan, all the long-suffering members of your team that have worked with us.
Yes, let's get us all on there. Connor's face will be comedy gold because he just does this.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it'd be great though. Great.
Wonderful.